There are young people that have said to me, 350 grants come from the ANC. And they believe it. When you inform them that these grants come from National Treasury, a government, it's not the ANC, it's a government that's doing it. They've been told at a rally that these 350s, they come from the ANC. The Buffalo is very rich. He's giving everybody 350.
Okay.
Let's discuss this load shedding issue, because a lot of people are now focused on the wrong thing. Jacob Zuma says to us in 2009, and I said to somebody that, growing up is realizing that there was a part of the former President Jacob Zuma that truly loved South Africa. There was a part of the man that loved South Africa. Although we might not agree on certain things, we might have issues on certain things where he let things slide, but there was a part of the man that loved South Africa. When Jacob Zuma said, let's build nuclear, he was on the ball, he was on the mark.
I realize that even the leadership of government needs to pay a visit here, because it will help shape our thinking about how do we solve other problems of the country, which if we don't have the knowledge, we might not take the right decisions.
And with our current electricity supply crisis, President Zuma believes nuclear energy is the future, despite the high cost of development.
Let me maybe open it up so everybody understands it. If you want to own electricity, you are in a monopoly of note. No one can compete with you. No one can question your prices. Contracts get signed for many years to come. And what these people have done, and I've gotten to the point where I say, if we don't tell young people the truth, we're failing ourselves. What they've done is they've asked themselves the question to say, how can we own electricity in South Africa? They realize that they don't have enough capital to do so. So they go to America, they go to Europe, and they join what I call the climate cult. And I'll explain why this climate change situation is very occultic. Because climate change only works when it comes to Africa. Only Africa should switch off its power stations. Africa, you're going to kill the rest of the world with your coal. Oh, but America and Europe, please, we've got strong winters. We need switch on the coal. We can't let people die.
Asia as well.
Asia as well, yeah. We can't let our manufacturing stop. Our GDP is dropping. Please switch on the coal. But Africa, focus on solar. You have the sun. Africa, focus on wind. You have good climate. I mean, go to the bush and build a wind power station. And the danger of this is these men have believed it because the thinking capacity is not there. If we're to actually win, we must be bold about telling the truth. And Penwell, I had to sit down with myself. I'm Christian. So one of my beliefs is that there is a God, and God does speak to people. When it comes to arise, I believe God spoke to me. Because I was in a situation where I was already inside of comfort. I didn't need to come out. Lived in the highest floor or penthouse in Sandton, had done extremely well. I was living the life. And God spoke to me and said, it means that South Africans must arise. The name arise comes from Isaiah chapter 60. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come. It says that gross darkness has covered the earth and the people. But it says you must arise. Now, when you look at South Africans, young people, a lot of them have been fooled. A lot of them. I've often watched a young person get up in the morning, go to a rally, listen to the speech that the politician is giving without ever Googling any facts, believing it and living their life based on a lie. How are we allowing people that have no experience in electricity, politicians, to build power stations? Fundamentally, let's start there. But let's leave that conversation, because when I said this to them and when I asked them this, they said to us, so how do you expect us to finance the revolution? And I said, okay, let's leave that conversation. Because if they're saying that they must own entities that loot from the state to finance their revolution and bus people down to FNB Stadium and wherever they need to bus them down and create this euphoria that all the grandmothers are supporting us, everybody's supporting us because they've got funds that they've looted from Eskom, that the same electricity that people don't have, if they want to have electricity, they must just go and look. If that's the narrative that they want to push, then let these people become serious about service delivery. The issues we have today at Eskom can all be backdated to a tender that went out to Chancellor House. 38.5 billion that went out to Chancellor House. And people...
That's rands.
Yeah, that's rands.
Okay.
People ask me and say, Mpho, how do you know these numbers off by head? And I said to them, I spent 5 years advising government. There's no government paperwork that I've not read. There's no government department that I've not fully understood. There's no structure of government that I don't know in and out. Immediately, how they did this, how they gave themselves the tender, the chairperson of fundraising in the ANC, they deployed that person as the chairperson of Eskom. He became the board chairperson of Eskom. Immediately after doing that, the ANC receives a tender of 38.5 billion. Now, the public protector of the country at that time came out and said this tender was awarded irregularly. The ANC looked at it and said, we're ruling. At that time, they had the majority in parliament. They said, nice to know, let's continue.
We can even put it to a vote.
If you want.
If you want.
Yeah. And immediately what begins to happen is everything wrong starts to happen at our power stations.
For over a decade, the Rooiwal substation has become almost redundant.
So I get to university, open up my laptop, and it used to be a norm for me, listen to what the lecturer is saying and focus on beating Robert Kiyosaki. Focus on creating this wealth that needs to be created in Africa. And as I'm checking, Bitcoin shoots up. I look at my Bitcoins, do the conversion. I realize I'm a millionaire. Yes. Close my laptop, go to the 6th floor of UJ to the tax lecturers. I want to see the tax lecturer. They're like, oh, but you're not studying tax. I said, I want to see the tax lecturer. They're like, okay, come in. There's this crazy kid who wants to see you. Sit down. I'm like, I've made $1 million through Bitcoin. I don't want things to go wrong with SARS. What should I do? This tax lecturer says, oh, Bitcoin. I've heard about it. No, man, that thing's not real money. It's gaming money. And I sit down and I'm like, I am wiser than these lecturers, and I'm here listening to them telling me these things.
They were right at the time, in my opinion.
They weren't. And
what I mean by that is my understanding of value is two people at least have to agree. And as soon as the other person does not agree on that this thing is valuable, it has no value.
Okay, I hear that.
But you are right in terms of the industry.
Yes, in terms of education. Yeah, to say an educator should know what's currently trending and going on in the world. They should understand it completely, because their students, if they're coming with a solution, the educator should say, wow, great, that's what I'm studying, that's what I'm, But anyway, cool. I then leave, I go to Campus Square, and I'm like, guys, I made $1 million. I want to deposit it into my account. They're like, oh, you've got a Mega U account. A Mega U is a student account. You can't deposit anything more than, I think it was 20,000 at the time. I'm like, okay, these ones are wasting my time. Go to Campus Square, I go to Cresta Mall. Get there, I'm like, I've got $1 million. I want to deposit it into my account. They're like, no, if you do you have a business? I'm like, no, I don't have a business. What do you mean? They're like, no, usually people that get a business, they make the millions. I'm like, no, I've got the millions. They're like, okay, fine, open a business and come back. Do the whole thing, open a business, come back. I'm like, I'm ready. They're like, yep. Go on my crypto platform, transfer, move the crypto into rands, right? And after I do that, I walk out of Cresta. And the first thing I say to myself is, God is true. I said to myself that greater is He that lives in me than he that lives in the world. I said, I will beat these men who continue to use these derogatory terms against Africa. By my God, I will beat them. I walk out and I said, I've done it. God is true. First thing I do, I give back. Now, because I'm Christian, when it comes to tithe, when it comes to giving, I don't compromise. Most of my money, I give. Most of the money that I've had, I've given away. If you look at my lifestyle, I should be living a much more luxurious lifestyle. I don't. Keep it minimalistic, give. Money belongs to God. As young people, we have legs on our feet. We're ready to run. We're ready to lay aside everything else and say, for this vision, we want these two generations to work together and make this country something that young people can be proud about. We're getting just warmed up. People often say to me as a politician, a rise is intense. And I said, we're just getting warmed up. We're just getting started. We haven't even started. And it becomes important for us to realize that I am not the only one. There are many other Josephs. There are many other Davids. There are many other Elijahs. There are many others that are like me, that have been waiting to hear somebody like me say, I'm doing it, and they're coming on board. And we've been seeing this. We've heard big pastors call us and say, listen, we are ready to leave this ANC cult that we've joined. We want to build with you guys. We've had big businesses call us and say, we're ready to support you guys. We've had people say, we want to make this country work. Because if we don't make this country work, we'll have nothing else left out of it. A country where everybody becomes more wealthier. A country where everybody becomes prosperous. A country that each and every one of us can be proud of. And this we can build through democracy.